I thought, I'm sorry, I stopped the consultation there and I said that I don't want to see anymore. But that's how people think. They're not trying to always solve their problems, and then they learn the hard lessons from not dealing with it properly. Who was responsible for that situation? Maybe the husband in a way, maybe the young man in a way, but really how it was going to play out, she didn't care. She just wanted to see how much more time she could get. So people have all that. Transits are funny things. It's like we build up to a crisis. We have the crises, we survive the crisis, we get over the crisis. So there's a preamble building up, there's the intensity of it happening, and then there's the shock or the regrouping after it's happened, the adjustment after it's happened. So this is the conjunction going in, the exact conjunction going out. So we see it all as one period of time. I like to think of it as like transits are like washing dishes. Okay, we all got our dishes. And some people, some very meticulous Virgos, will get up and as soon as they're finished, I mean, I've gone through all of these phases, so I can claim years of doing any one of them. But sometimes we do dishes, we sit down, we finish, we cook, we eat, and the dishes are there. We sit there, we get back to it. They pile up a bit, then we have to do the extra effort to clean up the dishes. Then we start again, and that's a kind of sloppy, normal way of doing dishes. We do them, they pile up. Okay, I don't feel like now. Okay, I'll do it later. And it piles up. Oh, geez, so we have to do it. So it builds up like that. But some people will, I don't want to do that. They'll clean the pots. I tend to do this now, my Virgo rising. I'll clean the pot the minute I'm cooking. As soon as I put the stuff on the plates, I clean the pot. Boom, done. I don't have to think about it after dinner. So that's being right on top of it, dealing with right away so that nothing piles up that more work to do later. But then there's people who do it normally keep on top of it, but it can pile up on a weekend or pile up on it. We get a little bit behind. We have to do the extra work to get back. Then we do it out for a little bit. It runs like that. We deal with our life aspects and life crises like this. We're ahead of it, right on time, or we're sort of on time sometime. We're more or less there. We have to catch up on things. Oh my God, like that. Or the third option, that you just let it pile up until there's so many dishes and they're so filthy that you don't want to touch them. You're going to throw the pots out rather than think of what's in that pot that hasn't been open for a month. Or this is more the young bachelor phase, but or you're just going to throw the pots out, buy a new pot because you just don't want to even bother. So you're either on top of it or sort of half and half sloppy with it, or really out of track and behind it. What are you going to do with it? So each of these are different relationships to crises, to aspects. So our transits come up, they create the same challenge. Are we right on top? Are we living exactly our life and just working with it? Are we starting to oh, but I got to finish this, oh, I got to do that. Are we half and half there? Or are we really way behind and I'll never be able to do that because I don't have the time to catch up to it? Wow, who sets these cycles in motion? They're happening, we're living them, we're setting the experiences up in motion around us. But often we're just running along until something happens and we try and get control of it ourselves. If we get some control, we have some discipline, we have some work, we start getting some control of it, it starts working in our favor a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to turn your guys' voices off since I'm not going questions, but this way I'm just going to ramble on for a little bit longer. And there's no need to, you can relax and make noise in your own side now. But this idea of transits being like crises, the crises or transits are just like how you deal with your transits is how you deal with your dishes. Well, if you deal with them. I love these stories that have come out recently of somebody's 20, 30, there was the one where somebody's 30-year-old son, or 30, I think it was 30-year-old son, was still living at home. And they had the parents took him to court to get him to move out. And they had to take him to court to get him out of the house. He thought, no, fair, I deserve it, it's my place. And they had to take him to court to get him out, and the court validated it and said, no, like, you can go, because there's been so many inconveniences, and they're doing the laundry, they're doing things like, by the time your kid goes out, if they're having trouble in their life and they say, let me come back and move in so it doesn't cost me any money, that's a stupid move. A smarter move would just pay a month's rent, give them a month to get their own place. You help them, but they got to get it together for themselves. Otherwise, you got the laundry, the dishes, the meals, everything else to put together for them, and you're hiding behind them, and it ends up being much more stormy, and it's a storm of your own building. So this is the stuff of numbers, calendars, designs, patterns. The magic of astrology is when you're taking these patterns and you're seeing the experiential side of life, how we experience, oh, I went through this then. What did you go through? Well, you went through that. And you see how the same aspect can create very different things for different people, but they're still in a similar theme. Boy, it makes it really, everybody's life is interesting. If someone lived the most boring life you could imagine, it would be fascinating to look at their transits. How could they live through that transit and be boring? Nothing ever happens. I'm 50, nothing ever happens to me. Impossible. If someone got to 60, they've gone through 2 Saturn cycles. They've gone through 5 Jupiter cycles. They've gone through 30 Mars cycles. They've lived a lot and survived a lot. Whew. So every day we're born, when we're born, the moment we're born and we take the first breath, we're the answers to the universe at that moment in time and space. We are it. And that moment gets sliced in time and frozen in time as our DNA, as our genetic code, our DNA, the fabric of our matrix. But then the world doesn't stop because you're gone. Everything keeps moving. Every day it moves, every week it moves, every month it keeps moving, and we get experiences each day. These accumulate, they build up, different patterns get established and accumulate. So we're always gaining experience every minute, every day, and they keep accumulating. There's always things happen. There's no such thing as nothing happens. It's more a symbol of taking the wrong drugs or taking something that's making you go into an imaginary world. You're not dealing with outside, and you've got some inner complex measuring things, judging against this way. But things are still happening. You may or may not be playing a conscious or an active or procreative or good relationship to it. So when someone's going to go through a challenge or a crisis, and they're coming to see you, and you're saying, oh, they got this crisis, you get to Saturn. Where are they supposed to be working? What are they working on? What's their perspective of what they should be doing? What's appropriate for them? If you can figure out what's appropriate for them, that you can start to give responsible, appropriate advice. That's Saturn. Responsible, appropriate advice. If you know something's coming up, you can give advice to be prepared for that crisis. If you're in the middle of a crisis, you can confirm that it's going on and why, but you can say it's only going to last this much longer, and then it eases off a little bit. Then you can say, and then when the next one comes, so you can see when a crisis is going on, see when it's not, where you're coming from, where you're going from. This is good advice. This is advice that helps people navigate through their crises. But if it's done willy-nilly and you're just talking whatever catches your attention, it's not responsible. It's just talking, it's impressive. It's easy to impress somebody and shock things what's going on in their life. That's most astrology. Oh, this is going on. This is a terrible thing. Okay, buy this gemstone, buy this herb, buy this tonic, go get this. Here's the problem. That's why you should buy this, or that's why this will fix this. That's not really good astrology. A lot of it worked that. Frighten someone and then tell them something to fix it. I mean, I think cult groups do that too. Here's God, and if you don't come in, you're going to be a sinner, so you better join with us. And here we are, and some people buy it. But really, you could be saying, here's this crisis, here's what you got to deal with. There's several options, and here's where it's leading to. How long are you going to avoid it? How long are you not going to deal with this? How long do you think you can get away with it becoming a bigger problem? By the time we start putting this together, you'll see the Saturn sets a standard that allows you to see all the other aspects, all the other planets are adding factors on top of the Saturn cycle, either working within it or challenging it. But still, even if a great disruption comes from other planets or other things, what do you have to do? You have to get back to your Saturn track to get defensive, to get self-defined, to get control of your life and disciplined again. So if you're not working with Saturn, you're going to be handicapped with the other planets. If you're not working with Saturn, you're not going to be able to guide your inner planets. If you're not being responsible, who wants to relate to someone who's not responsible? you're going to end up doing everything for them. You ever worked for a boss that wasn't responsible? You ever had a kid that wasn't responsible? What do? It's an extra. How did they get to this state? How did my kid get to be so irresponsible? Good question. So it's two stories. One is what the kid goes through and what the kid went through in his Saturn cycles and how he grew up, and where you are and what you grew up and what you've put out and how the two of them mix and you're each going in your own ways. In relationships, anyone can get along with anyone. It's not one chart says you can't be with this person. A stressful, difficult chart can be the most passionate, exciting relationship. The harmonious, most blissful chart can be the most boring, dull relationship. And as soon as we get one that's harmonious and easy, it's so boring, we want something exciting. As soon as we get something exciting, we think it's so stressful, we want something peaceful. And we flip around like this. But really, as long as you're content and you're working with yourself and you're content with your own being, and you're relating to people and you're happy that they're being their chart and being who they are, you're not trying to change them to be more like you, that you'll accept who they are on their terms, and you being you on your terms, that's the foundation of a wholesome relationship. You can get along with anybody of any sign if you can do that. Simple. But you have to be able to see the chart and know it well enough. We're just starting. We're just getting into these things, and this is the calculations ones. You have to navigate through. This is the foreplay to find the information. You have to go through the ephemeris or get the computer to draw it and get the dates, and then we have to draw it on to put it on the graph to be able to get into the real energy of it. But from here, once you want to do this, because by doing it, you get used to the mechanics of it. It's not intimidating. It's something simple, familiar. Wow, astrology is yours. And as we add the other things on, it won't be a big problem. You'll be glad to do them, and you'll be seeing things. Wow, we'll add layers on at a time. And we'll build up this in-depth perception of life and psyche, which we've done, and the timing of when things get affected. I think I'm about done. I don't think I have too much else to say right now. I could go on, but I think I'm going to leave it here. And if you have problems with the calculations, or you got to just email me if there's a block or a problem with something. Email me if something's not working or you didn't get something. Let me know and I'll get back to you on it. So we start our interpretations with the Saturn cycle. So you want to calculate your Saturn cycle for 90 years. You want to make the graph for 90 years, and you want to as you're putting the dates on there, you got to put them onto your Excel spreadsheet history. You need to collect it in the history things, because you're going to be going back and referring to this, and you're going to see some aspects overlap, some cycles from different layers overlap each other and affect each other at the same time. And when you can see where something's coming from, where it's going to, where it is in the phases that it's developed from when you were born, you have the perspective on how that's supposed to work. You have the sense of what's normal and the standard against which to watch other crises, other timings. So when there's conjunctions, there's activity. When there's oppositions, you're being challenged to be aware, and this pulsing will come through too. So we're going to work all these things through. So next week, we'll start with Saturn to itself. I hope you have your graphics, and I'll be going through mine. I'll be talking about yours, and we're talking to us in a way so that you can apply it to you, and we'll take it from there. Okay, thanks. See you next week.